Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins All World, where every coin tells a story, and some are worth a whole lot more than you'd expect. Today, we're zooming in on a coin that millions of people have held in their hands without ever realizing its hidden potential. It's the 1980 Lincoln penny, and trust me, this is not just another copper-colored coin. There's a chance that if you find the right one, you could be holding a piece of American history that's worth thousands of dollars. Let's set the stage. It's 1980. Ronald Reagan is running for president, Pac-Man is taking over arcades, and the U.S. Mint is continuing to strike the humble 1-cent coin bearing the image of President Abraham Lincoln. The design, featuring Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, had already been around for decades, and in 1980, it was still going strong. But among the millions and millions of pennies minted that year, a few were produced with mistakes, errors so rare and unique, they've become the dream of every serious coin collector. Now, you might be asking, how can a 1-cent coin be worth anything more than its face value? And that's a great question. The answer lies in the world of minting errors, die varieties, and coin conditions. These are the three magic ingredients that turn an ordinary penny into a collectible treasure. Let's start with minting errors, because this is where things get exciting. The 1980 Lincoln penny is known to have a few spectacular errors that instantly boost its value. One of the most sought after is the double die error, particularly on the obverse side. This happens when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, causing the letters or numbers, like Liberty, In God We Trust, or even the date, 1980, to appear doubled. This doubling is often visible to the naked eye, and serious collectors go crazy for it. Not all doubling is valuable, but clear and dramatic double die errors on a 1980 penny can easily launch its value into the thousands. Another rare error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the die, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed off to one side. Depending on how far off-center the coin is, and how much of the design is still visible, the value can increase dramatically. Collectors love these off-center errors, especially when they still show a full date or recognizable features. Then there's the incredibly rare wrong planchet error. This is when a penny is accidentally struck on a coin blank meant for another denomination. Imagine finding a 1980 penny that was struck on a dimes planchet, smaller, thinner, and lighter than normal. These are extremely rare, and when verified, they can be worth thousands to the right buyer. Now, let's talk about condition. Even if your 1980 penny doesn't have an error, if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, it can still carry impressive value. Collectors grade coins using a scale from 1 to 70, with MS 65 and above, mint state, being the most desirable. If you happen to have a 1980 penny with an error and it's in high grade, that's where things really start to get exciting. Another reason collectors are so fascinated by the 1980 penny is because it's from a transitional period in U.S. coinage. Just 2 years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint switched from making pennies out of mostly copper to a cheaper zinc core with just a thin copper coating. That makes the 1980 penny one of the last solid copper issues, and for many collectors, it holds nostalgic and historical value as part of the final generation of true copper cents. So now the big question: what is a rare 1980 Lincoln penny actually worth? If you come across one with a major mint error, like a bold double die or an off-center strike, and it's in excellent condition, you might want to sit down for this, because a verified rare 1980 Lincoln penny has sold for an incredible $37,000. Yes, you heard that right. $37,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. That's the magic of numismatics, friends. It's not just about old coins, it's about discovery, history, and the thrill of knowing something special when you see it. So before you toss that penny into a tip jar or let it vanish into the depths of your couch cushions, take a closer look. That tiny coin could be your next big treasure. Today, we're diving into a little piece of American currency that might just be worth far more than anyone expects. It's tiny, it's copper, and most people walk right past it without giving it a second glance. But what if I told you that a 1976 Lincoln penny, yes, a 1-cent coin, could be worth a small fortune? That's right, and in this video, we're going to uncover the secrets, the errors, and the value hidden in the 1976 Lincoln penny. So grab your coin jars, get comfortable, and let's take a journey into one of the most surprising finds in U.S. coin collecting. Let's rewind the clock to 1976. It was the year of America's bicentennial celebration, 200 years of independence. While quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins were redesigned to honor the occasion, the humble penny kept its classic design. No fireworks or eagles here, just the enduring profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, as it had been since 1959. But even though the penny didn't get a flashy new look, that doesn't mean the 1976 Lincoln cent didn't end up with a few surprises of its own. Among the millions of pennies minted that year, a small number emerged with minting errors, and these are the coins that get collectors buzzing. When we talk about rare and valuable coins, it's usually not just the year that makes them special. It's the mistakes made during production that turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. One of the most valuable types of errors found on 1976 Lincoln pennies is the double die error. This occurs when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, creating a noticeable doubling effect on parts of the coin's design. Imagine looking at the date, 1976, or the word Liberty, and seeing a faint second image underneath. That's a double die, and if it's bold and clear, you could be looking at a very rare coin, but it doesn't stop there. Another incredible error found on some 1976 pennies is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't properly aligned with the die during the minting process, causing the design to appear shifted to one side. The more off-center the strike, and the more of the original design that's still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Some collectors specifically hunt for extreme off-center coins where half the coin is blank. There's also the rare but fascinating broad strike error, where the retaining collar fails during the strike, causing the coin to expand wider than normal without a proper rim. And let's not forget the wrong planchet error, where a penny might be struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, making it a true one-of-a-kind piece. But even without an obvious error, condition plays a massive role in determining a coin's value. A regular 1976 penny found in circulation might only be worth a cent or two, but one that has never been used, what collectors call uncirculated or mint state, can be worth significantly more. If that penny also has a rare error, well, now you're talking about a coin that's not just interesting, it's valuable. Let's talk about grading for a second. Coin grading ranges from 1, heavily worn, to 70, perfect, flawless coin. A 1976 penny graded MS 65 or higher, especially with a documented mint error, is like hitting the collector's jackpot. These coins are rare, desirable, and can fetch big bucks at auctions, and here's where things get exciting. One particular 1976 Lincoln penny, with a remarkable double die error and preserved in mint condition, made headlines in the coin world when it was valued at a stunning $41,000. Yes, you heard that right, $41,000 for a coin that originally cost just 1 cent. This is exactly why collectors examine every detail. Because sometimes, it's not the big flashy coins that bring the most value, it's the small, overlooked ones that carry the biggest surprises. So before you toss that penny into a vending machine or let it roll under your couch, take a closer look. That 1976 Lincoln cent might just be hiding a fortune. Today, we're shining a spotlight on a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, a small, copper coin that you've probably seen hundreds of times without realizing its hidden potential. We're talking about the 1975 Lincoln penny, a simple 1-cent piece that might just be worth a small fortune if you know what to look for. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might be digging through your coin jar with a whole new perspective. Now let's set the scene. 1975. It was a time of change in America. The Vietnam War was winding down, technology was on the rise, and people were carrying around change without ever thinking it might one day be worth thousands. The Lincoln penny, introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already become an iconic part of everyday life. By 1975, the design featured Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the back, something that had been standard since 1959. But while the design didn't change that year, something else made the 1975 Lincoln penny special. And that's where this story really gets interesting. Most people assume that because billions of pennies were minted in 1975, there's nothing rare or valuable about them. But here's the secret: not all 1975 pennies are created equal. A select few left the US Mint with errors, tiny mistakes during the minting process that turned ordinary coins into extremely rare and valuable collectibles. Let's talk about the kinds of errors that can make a 1975 penny worth far more than face value. One of the most famous is the double die error, especially on the obverse side. This happens when the coin die strikes the blank twice, slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect. If you look closely at the words, "Liberty, in God We Trust," or the date, 1975, and see any signs of shadowing, blurring, or doubled lines, you might be looking at one of the rarest Lincoln cents out there. Another major error to watch out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press and the design is pushed off to one side. The more off-center the strike, and the more of the date and design that's still visible, the higher the value. Off-center pennies can be some of the most eye-catching and collectible coins out there. And then there's the wrong planchet error. This is when a penny is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination. Imagine finding a 1975 penny struck on a dime planchet. It would be lighter, thinner, and silver in color instead of copper. These are ultra-rare and absolutely thrilling finds for any collector. Condition is also key. Even without an error, a 1975 penny in perfect condition can be worth more than you think. Coins are graded from 1 to 70, and anything in the range of MS 65 or higher is considered mint state. A 1975 penny in this kind of pristine, uncirculated condition, especially with an error, becomes incredibly valuable to collectors. And there's something else that makes this coin fascinating: the year 1975 itself. It's the last year before the US Mint introduced the bicentennial designs for other coins in 1976. Even though the penny didn't receive a new design like the quarter or half dollar, the 1975 issue still holds a special place in the timeline of American coinage. It's a classic, and collectors love classic coins, especially ones that have something rare and unique about them. So now you're probably wondering, how much can a rare 1975 Lincoln penny actually be worth? Well, here's the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to find a 1975 penny with a strong double die error or another rare mint mistake, and it's in high-grade condition, it could sell for an absolutely astonishing $42,000. Yes, that's right, $42,000 for a single 1-cent coin. Just imagine stumbling across one in a pocket full of change or hidden away in an old coin album. It's the kind of story that makes this hobby so thrilling. So if you've got a jar of pennies sitting at home, or maybe a collection you haven't looked at in a while, now's the time to go treasure hunting. Get out your magnifying glass, check those dates carefully, and keep your eyes open for any oddities. Because hidden among those pennies might be one that could change your life. Today's journey takes us deep into the world of copper, history, and hidden value, because we're talking about a coin that may seem ordinary on the outside but could be a collector's dream on the inside. It's none other than the 1966 Lincoln penny. Now, you've probably seen thousands of these in your lifetime. They're everywhere, at the bottom of drawers, hiding in old jars, clinking at the bottom of your wallet. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, just one, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car? That's right. So get comfortable, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at a 1966 penny the same way again. Let's rewind the clock a bit. The year is 1966. The Beatles are dominating the charts, color TVs are becoming the new normal, and the US Mint is hard at work striking millions of coins to meet the country's growing demand for cash. But here's what makes 1966 a fascinating year in coin history. It came right after the famous Coinage Act of 1965, a time when the US government was making big changes to its coins, particularly with silver content. And during this transitional period, the mint was under pressure, rushing production and cutting back on certain practices, like putting mint marks on coins. That's right, number 1966 Lincoln penny has a mint mark, whether it was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. They were all issued without identifying which mint they came from, but where it gets really interesting is in the errors, the rare, unintentional mistakes that transform these common coins into highly valuable collectibles. One of the most sought-after types of error on a 1966 penny is the double die error. This happens during the die creation process, when a design is impressed onto the die more than once, but slightly misaligned. The result? A doubling of letters, numbers, or other design elements. On a 1966 penny, collectors specifically look for doubling in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1966. If you spot clear, bold doubling, especially visible to the naked eye, you may have something truly special. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. These coins are minted when the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press, causing the design to shift away from the center. The further off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin can be, especially if the date is still fully visible. Some extreme examples, where part of the coin is blank, have sold for thousands of dollars. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without a collar, giving it a wider, flatter look with no defined edge. These can be quite dramatic and are definitely a favorite among collectors who want coins that stand out. And let's not forget about wrong planchet errors, extremely rare cases where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another coin, like a dime or even a foreign denomination. These coins often look lighter, smaller, or even a different color, and their rarity makes them incredibly valuable. But of course, beyond errors, one of the biggest value factors is condition. A coin fresh from the mint, never touched by human hands, never circulated, that's what collectors call mint state. A 1966 penny graded MS-65 or higher, especially with a rare error, can be worth a surprising amount. Even small imperfections can impact a coin's value, so when you combine rarity, error, and pristine condition, you've got a winning combination. Now here's something else most people don't realize: even though 1966 pennies were minted by the hundreds of millions, only a tiny fraction have survived with rare errors or in perfect condition. That's what makes them so desirable today. These aren't just coins, they're little time capsules from a fascinating period in American history, and each one tells a story. So now for the moment you've been waiting for. How much can a rare 1966 Lincoln penny actually be worth? Are you ready? A verified, error-struck 1966 Lincoln penny in high mint state condition has been known to sell for an astonishing $54,000. Yes, you heard that right. $54,000 for a 1-cent coin that could be sitting in someone's junk drawer right now, completely unnoticed. And that's the magic of coin collecting. It's not always about the oldest or the shiniest coin. Sometimes, it's about paying close attention, knowing what to look for, and discovering the hidden gems hiding in plain sight. So before you toss your pennies into the coin jar, take a closer look at that 1966 Lincoln cent. Pull out the magnifying glass, study the details, and check for anything unusual, because you just might be holding a tiny copper fortune in your hand. Today we're diving into a US coin that could be sitting right in your pocket change, hiding in plain sight. It's small, it's copper, and it's worth way more than just 1 cent. I'm talking about the 1972 Lincoln penny, and if you find the right one, it could turn out to be one of the most valuable coins you've ever seen. Now, the Lincoln penny is no stranger to American history. It's been around since 1909, honoring the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1972, the coin had already seen a few decades of service with the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a symbol of respect and power. But even though the design looked the same, something unique happened during that year that turned certain 1972 pennies into superstars of the coin collecting world. Let's set the scene. The year is 1972. The Vietnam War is ongoing, Nixon is in the White House, and the average person is using coins daily without a second thought. The US Mint is pumping out pennies by the millions, just like any other year. But then, an error slips through the cracks. And that error changes everything. What we're talking about here is the 1972 double die obverse, also known as DDO. This is one of the most well-known and most sought-after errors in the Lincoln penny series. Here's what happens: during the minting process, the die that strikes the coins gets misaligned or impressed more than once, but just slightly off. The result? A clear and visible doubling effect on the obverse side of the coin. If you look at Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 1972, and notice a shadowy double image or a doubling of letters, you may be holding a very rare penny indeed, but not all double dies are created equal. There are actually multiple variations of the 1972 double die penny, and the most dramatic ones show deep, clear doubling that can be seen even without a magnifying glass. These are the ones that really get collectors excited. Beyond the famous double die, there are other mint errors that make some 1972 pennies extremely rare and desirable. You've got off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned and part of the coin is blank. Then there's the broad strike, where the coin is struck outside of its normal boundaries, causing the edge to appear stretched and smooth. And let's not forget about the wrong planchet errors, where a penny might accidentally be struck on a blank meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. These mistakes are rare, but when they happen, they turn ordinary coins into one-of-a-kind collectibles. Now, let's talk about something every coin collector pays close attention to: condition. A coin's condition is graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS standing for mint state. An MS 65 or higher grade means the coin is in nearly flawless condition, with full details, no wear, and strong luster. Combine that kind of condition with a rare mint error like a double die, and the value skyrockets. Even regular 1972 pennies in high grade can sell for more than face value. But when you bring in the famous double die obverse in mint condition, now you're talking about something truly special. So, how rare is this error? Well, the US Mint caught the mistake quickly, and only a small number of these double die coins ever made it into circulation. Most people who got them in change probably never even noticed. Some were spent. Some were lost. And just a few were saved, tucked away by sharp-eyed collectors or lucky individuals who had no idea what they were holding. And now, the big moment you've been waiting for: just how much is a rare 1972 Lincoln penny worth today? If it has a dramatic double die and is in excellent condition, hold your breath, because one of these rare beauties has sold for an unbelievable $48,500. Yes, that's right, $48,500 for a coin that most people would walk past on the sidewalk. That's why coin collecting is so exciting. Because it's not always about finding treasure in a faraway place, it's about recognizing the hidden value in everyday things. That little coin in your change, in a drawer, or in a dusty old jar could be the key to something big. So if you've got a stash of old pennies, now's the time to take a second look. Pull out your 1972 cents, grab a magnifying glass, and check those letters and numbers carefully. Who knows? You could be holding a rare and valuable piece of numismatic history without even realizing it. If you found this video exciting, be sure to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss our next coin spotlight. And if you've got a rare penny, or think you might, drop a comment below. We love hearing your coin stories. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and remember, sometimes the smallest coin holds the biggest surprise.